Please join us in welcoming Dr. Ancelone and Mr. Divaldo Franco.
Enquanto não chegam as perguntas para a doutora Ancelone, vou respondendo as que já estão em minhas mãos. Tendo consciência da necessidade do perdão, como poderias trabalhar o auto-perdão diante das culpas inconscientes e conscientes que carregamos interiormente? A melhor maneira de superarmos qualquer tipo de culpa é de nos considerarmos pessoas falíveis, o que equivale a dizer que todos nós nos equivocamos e todos temos o direito à reabilitação. Guardar uma culpa é um processo autopunitivo, insegurança emocional. Se nós erramos, pedimos desculpas. Se o outro não nos concede a desculpa, o problema é dele. Quando alguém erra, nós desculpamos. Na questão 919 do Livro dos Espíritos, Kardec pergunta: qual o processo mais eficaz para ser feliz neste mundo e superar as más inclinações? Os Espíritos responderam numa lógica de bronze. Um sábio da antiguidade já vos disse: conhece-te a ti mesmo. Santo Agostinho, meditando a respeito dessa pergunta e resposta, coloca um adendo: fazei como eu, quando estava na terra. Diariamente ao deitar-me, fazia o exame de consciência. Quando me dava conta que havia cometido algum erro, no dia seguinte me reabilitava. E quando alguém havia cometido um erro contra mim, de imediato eu desculpava. Se nós temos o dever de desculpar os outros, temos o mesmo dever de autodesculpar-nos. É uma atitude de humildade, mas não é de acomodação com o erro. Continuarmos a errar e a nos desculparmos é tomar uma atitude de autorrenovação e evitarmos repetir o mesmo equívoco. É apenas um treinamento.
Okay. So here we have a question. Why is it easier to do the wrong than the right thing? There's no scientific evidence that it's easier. Seriously, no. There is no scientific evidence that it's easier to do the wrong. It may feel as such for some people sometimes in our lives, but if that's the case, why it may be at times easier? Because of old conditionings. Because we needed to remember that to change something, we needed to condition ourselves to that new. And it takes time. In the book Evolution in Two Worlds, André Luiz talks about the need of repetition for us to acquire a new learning experience. And nowadays, science validates the very fact and tells us that it takes time to develop a habit. And not only time, but repetition. So if we want to do something that is right, we need to first conquer that in our minds. So we would say, create the thought of what you want to do right. First, affirm it, affirm it, affirm it. As Gabriel Delan says in his book Reincarnation, he says, the more we think about something, we're going to condense those thought forms in the spiritual body and thus later, if I keep on going, it's going to appear in the physical body. So I need to continuously think about the good, the right I want to achieve, so it comes true sooner than later.
Se Hitler fosse vivo até hoje e continuasse suas atrocidades até o presente momento, qual deveria ser a nossa atitude como espíritas perante ele? Deveríamos permitir que continuasse matando ou faríamos um favor à humanidade retirando-lhe a vida em benefício de milhares de indivíduos? A proposta do perdão não é conivência com o erro. O que não é correto merece retificação. O objetivo do perdão não é deixar o indivíduo continuar cometendo as suas arbitrariedades. Se Hitler estivesse reencarnado, mas em seu lugar existem outros, o nosso dever é profligar contra essa atitude. Não seria de nós o matarmos, porque o escândalo é necessário, mas ai daquele que se faz instrumento do escândalo. Outros violentos sempre encarregam-se disso. O nosso dever era de desenvolver uma campanha internacional contra ele ou quaisquer criminosos, genocidas, que abusam do poder, que se encontram na posição de destaque para poder intimidar, ameaçar e afligir. Então, a nossa atitude de espírita não é da conivência. Allan Kardec perguntou aos espíritos por que o mal progride na Terra? Por causa da complacência dos bons. Como o problema não é comigo, eu fico calado. Hoje, no Brasil, trago a experiência de lá, porque lá eu vivo, é recomendado que ninguém reaja ao assalto. Então, é necessário que nós estejamos sempre dizendo ao ladrão, pode vir me roubar, é um estímulo. O reagir, às vezes, é do instinto. Nós vamos andando, o indivíduo nos assalta, o próprio choque, o mecanismo de defesa, de manutenção da vida, faz que nós reajamos. É uma reação psicológica, um efeito fisiológico, a descarga de adrenalina. Mas isso não dá direito a ele de nos matar. Então, nós temos que criar leis justas. Temos de usar o voto com dignidade para mudar a estrutura da sociedade. Então, nós temos sempre que reprovar o mal, esteja onde ou quem seja o instrumento. Não é desejar que ele seja assassinado, porque outro substitui. É desejar que a cultura social elimine das suas paisagens aqueles que não têm condições de governar-se, de dominar-se. Portanto, não têm condições de governar as massas. A nossa atitude seria de compaixão, mais exigência para que as leis o punissem conforme os estatutos legais que regem a humanidade.
Okay, so this friend says, I have the tendency to depression and I tend to change my thoughts, but depression is already installed and it seems like it's not fruitful to change by thinking positively. We need to observe ourselves as millennial spirits living this incarnate life. For example, when we see a baby, the spirit connected to that physical body is little by little waking up in that new experience. By adolescence, it's awake. And then in our young adult years and later on in adulthood, we will experience the outcome of lots of experiences in previous lives. We're going to meet people whom we met in previous lives, even if we're not fully aware of it. So if this depression is so ingrained, it's so inside of us, let us think about how we can therapeutically conquer it, not only for tomorrow, today, tomorrow, but for immortality. So don't say it's not fruitful to make efforts thinking positively. keep on working on this, but don't forget, there is one rule in life, there's one law in the universe that can change everything. And it's in the gospel according to Spiritism. It says, without charity, there is no salvation. To conquer depression, we needed to be charitable. To think more of the problems of others than our own problems. That's the only way. Thinking positively, oh, I'm great, I'm a child of God, but not recognizing that everybody else is also great and a child of God is not going to get me out of depression. So when they say think positively about everything and start reaching out to others, and then life will be transformed.
Quais os caminhos para adquirir a fé? Existem duas expressões de fé: a fé natural e a fé raciocinada. Todos nós nascemos com crenças, que são atavismos de encarnações passadas. Em um livro admirável de um geneticista americano, Dr. Divaldo, ele fala a respeito do gene da fé, o gene de Deus, VMAT2. Depois da decodificação do genoma humano, se constatou que nós temos apenas 35 mil genes e não 100 mil, como se acreditava antes. O Dr. Hammer estabelece que todos nós nascemos com um tipo de crença qualquer, particularmente com a crença em Deus. Mas esta fé, de acordo com o meio social, com a cultura, os relacionamentos e a educação, varia ou se anula face à convivência com os indivíduos mais experientes. No entanto, ela está íncita em nós. A melhor maneira de adquirirmos a fé é através da reflexão. A fé natural é ingênua, espontânea, é uma crença. Quem crê hoje pode não crer amanhã. Quem não crê hoje, amanhã pode passar a crer. Mas quem tem conhecimento, em qualquer época ele sabe. Por exemplo, se eu sou alfabetizado e olho uma propaganda qualquer, eu digo, não vou ler o outdoor, já li. Aquele indivíduo que tem a crença, de acordo com o humor, ele pode tê-la aprofundada, superficial, e a cada instante ele nega. Muitos de nós temos uma crença religiosa. E a pergunta, por que Deus fez isso comigo? O que prova que não tem nenhuma crença. A crença é um estado de aceitação de uma coisa que a pessoa não conhece e que é cômoda. A verdadeira crença é a raciocinada, porque eu creio. Então seria aqui um jogo de palavras, seria a ciência da crença. Através do conhecimento, nós passamos a crer. Adquire-se essa crença pela reflexão, pela meditação, pela lógica, pelas experiências vividas, mas, sobretudo, pela maneira como nós imprimirmos as reflexões em nosso mundo interior. Daí a fé tradicional, chamada fé cega, era uma fé hereditária. Eu sou do tempo que a pessoa dizia, eu nasci em tal religião e morro em tal religião. Todos nascemos nus e morremos vestidos. Então, isso não justifica. Com os altos conhecimentos, eu não tenho nada de que nasci dessa ou daquela forma, porque desde que eu nasci, mudei completamente. Daí o Espiritismo é a ciência da razão. Fé verdadeira, diz Allan Kardec, é somente aquela que pode enfrentar a razão em todas as épocas da humanidade. Então, a fé do século XIX, com os padrões culturais, se ela é lógica, ela evoluiu com a ciência e nada sofreu em alteração. Essa ciência da razão do Espiritismo é tão fascinante que as grandes conquistas do conhecimento contemporâneo, ciência e tecnologia, não alteraram em absoluto um ponto da doutrina espírita. 150 anos de o Evangelho segundo o Espiritismo. E não se pode adir nada que lhe altere o conteúdo. É tão importante hoje o Sermão da Montanha como há 2000 anos. Bem-aventurados os simples, os pobres em espírito. Há várias traduções. Os pobres de espírito, os pobres em espírito, os simples em espírito. São variações. Mas a cultura sempre zombou dessa tese, porque se tem uma impressão equivocada. Quem é o pobre de espírito? Será uma pessoa de espírito pobre, que muda completamente o conceito. Uma pessoa de espírito pobre é uma pessoa que não tem ideais, que não tem as ambições transcendentes, que se acomoda com pouco, come, dorme, faz sexo e basta. É uma pessoa fisiológica. Mas aqueles pobres em espírito de soberba, pobres em espírito de orgulho, pobres em espírito de avareza, pobres em espírito de prepotência, esses são ricos de humildade, ricos de compaixão, ricos de misericórdia, ganharão o reino dos céus. Daí a fé raciocinada, aquela que nós treinamos, que é através do exercício. E é uma fé inabalável, porque nós não temos a menor dúvida. Quando algo desagradável me acontece, e me acontece muito mais do que aos outros, porque eu sou um tipo de boi de piranha, vai na frente e joga para as piranhas, para o gado passar. Eu nunca pergunto, por que eu? Eu sempre pergunto assim, por que não eu? Porque somos todos em processo de evolução. E agradeço o que não é um masoquismo. Porque no Evangelho, a irmã Rosália coloca uma frase que me comove. A dor é o prêmio que Deus oferece àqueles a quem ama. Quer dizer, sofrer é uma bênção de lapidação, porque somente sofremos porque devemos. Somente nos acontece aquilo de que temos necessidade para evoluir. Então, não existe o castigo, mas a oportunidade de redenção. Adquire-se a fé, portanto, pelo estudo, pela meditação, pela reflexão. Perguntar-se-á, e os analfabetos? A minha mãe era analfabeta de pai e mãe, portanto já era a terceira geração. Mas era muito vivaz. Minha mãe tinha os olhos de Raul. Às vezes eu acho que Raul é que é filho dela, porque eu tenho uma inveja, olhos verdes, tentadores, os meus olhinhos de pobre, olhinhos castanhos, olha que fraqueza. E então eu dizia para minha mãe assim, mãe, se a senhora quiser, eu a ensino a ler e a escrever, e a senhora aprende em uma semana. Ela sorria e dizia, meu filho, eu já sou diplomada pela Universidade da Vida, e não quero meter confusão na minha cabeça para não me atrapalhar. Está chegando a hora?
Nós temos tempo para uma pergunta a mais. We have time for one more question.
Portanto, a dela, deixa eu terminar bem devagar. Então, eu lia o Evangelho, eu lia a obra de Kardec, e a tradução português é do Dr. Guion Ribeiro, um purista da língua. Às vezes é muito clássica. E eu dizia, por exemplo, assim, a melancolia. E ela me olhava, não sabia o que era. Eu então dava um jeito assim, de quando uma tristeza horrorosa toma conta da gente. Ela ria, me dava um toque. Meus amigos, minha mãe desencarnou em 1972. 10 anos depois, casualmente, entre aspas, eu estava em Uberaba com Chico Xavier. E naquela noite, ele nos convidou a orar na sua casa. Eu fui com o meu anfitrião, Emanuel Chaves, ele estava acompanhado da auxiliar de cozinha. Sentamos-nos, eu comecei a psicografar uma mensagem para ele, do Dr. Bezerra de Menezes, e no fim ele psicografou uma mensagem para mim de minha mãe. Eu exultei. E logo me lembrei que ela era analfabeta, automaticamente. Veja o que é o vício mental. Não raciocinei. Então ela começa a mensagem, ipsis verbis, de meu filho. Quando eu estava na Terra, Você me dizia, mãe, se a senhora quiser aprender a ler e escrever, eu ensino em uma semana e a senhora aprenderá. E eu lhe respondia, meu filho, eu já sou diplomada pela Universidade da Vida e não quero pôr confusão na minha cabeça. Somente eu e ela sabíamos disso. Nunca havia comentado com ninguém. E ela disse, a minha reencarnação no analfabetismo foi uma bênção para que a dama francesa, orgulhosa e prepotente, aprendesse na humildade a cultivar o bem e o amor. Desde que cheguei, eu tomei banhos magnéticos para recuperar a memória. E hoje venho escrever para alegrar o seu coração. Escreveu 62 páginas. Fé raciocinada. E agora para ela, bem pouco tempo.
Ok. Eu acho que eu vou fazer a pergunta e o Divaldo responde.
É vingança.
A pergunta, Divaldo, é: com tantos sítios de expiação na Terra, quando devemos considerar vontade de Deus a expiação ou agir para aliviar a dor dessas pessoas?
Filhos são muito teimosos.
Okay. In the Gospel according to Spiritism, there is actually an answer for this. It talks about when we should take action, when people are suffering. It's not on us to tell whether this or the other are experiencing this because they have to suffer, because only God knows, right? How do you know? So our duty is always to relieve the pain of others. Everything else is in God's hands, not on us.
Very good.
For our Q&A session, we would like to invite Mr. Assisi and Dr. Simões to the stage. Please, those who still have some questions, please make sure that they give them to us so that the speakers can handle them.
Here we are again.
Ladies first. Beauty before age. Huh? Beauty before age. Okay. Want me to go first?
Go ahead.
Welcome back. We're excited to have you back. Surprised that you're back. There is a God after all. So the first question that we got here was, why Jesus did not say my mother or the creator or it, but call him my father, call God my father. Was that on purpose? Is there an inside message here? I'm going to go out on a limb and say no, there was not an inside message. Jesus was very aware of the habits of the time. And during that time, as you know, it was a heavily male-dominated culture. So it would only be the acceptable part to refer to God as male for most of us. Although there are some linguistic differences there and so forth that we can kind of go into it. But funny enough, we actually will find that perhaps Jesus was the first feminist of history. You will find that he adopts unorthodox postures towards women. That is, he's very fair and equitable towards women at his time. There are a couple of times that come to mind where he, for instance, engages with the Samaritan woman at the fountain. You remember that the whole passage about the water of life, like whosoever drinks from this water will no longer thirst, which is absolutely poetically beautiful if you hadn't had a chance to read it. And she says, why are you talking to me? Jewish people are not supposed to talk to Samaritans. She's surprised that he, as a Jew, is talking to a Samaritan woman, which is something frowned upon because, stations and social stations and so forth. And we'll see, obviously, the example of, whosoever has sinned before cast the first stone. So we have all these kind of evidences that point to the fact that Jesus was actually very egalitarian, as we imagined he would be, that he really valued women as equals, and the fact that a lot of women actually followed him, and we have a lot of them in his inner circle. It's a proof of that as well. But because of the ties of the time, because of the culture of the time, we only pay attention to the male-dominated piece. And that's actually funny, something I actually thought when I was doing the lecture. I myself used the word he to refer to God many times, not because I was really thinking of a male deity, but only because of a linguistic habit and culturally accepted habits that we have throughout the years just kind of done because, that's kind of we grew up into. So read nothing into it other than just being a neutral gender, a neutral gender approach to calling God he sometimes. I don't feel good calling it either, right? It feels kind of weird. So sometimes I just use the word God, so I say God many times. So, what would God say God would do, right? But sometimes I miss. But I'm pretty sure that there was nothing special in there because we also know through Spiritism that we come back in many different bodies, in different lives over time. So there's a complete egalitarian approach in our eyes, and we're sure that he, more than anybody else, he, Jesus, more than anybody else, would be the first to point that out.
The question is, please explain. It doesn't interest me if the story you're telling me is true. So the person wants to basically understand why the poem actually says that. Many people have asked me, what again is the name of the poem? It's called The Invitation. Actually, it's a book called The Invitation by Uriah Mountain. And the book is, for each chapter, she goes over one of those sentences and talks about that. But, so it doesn't interest me if the story you're telling me is true or not. It really doesn't interest me. It's not important. What's really important is what are the feelings behind what you're telling me, or whether you're telling me the truth or not. If you're not telling me the truth, what are you afraid of? What are your fears? What's preventing you from being honest to yourself and to the world? Are you afraid of being seen, as I have said? Are you afraid of people seeing things that you wish they would not see about yourself? So it goes back to that core feeling of shame and seeking to be loved and seeking to be accepted. So it's not so much about what we are saying or how we are behaving or what we are showing, but what truly lies within our hearts and our souls. Things that a lot of times we ourselves don't know. Or if we know, we project to our unconscious, we project to places where we can't see it because we are so ashamed of those things ourselves. So that's really what the poem's asking us to be able to do is, like again I mentioned in the very beginning, to be able to have the courage to tell the story wholeheartedly, not only to others, but to ourselves in first place, and be able to be compassionate and loving towards where we are, because it's not who we are, it's where we are in our level of awareness and evolution.
So another question here is, if there is nothing greater than God, then how do we explain the devil? It's a good question. I think that there's a lot of assumptions that we make culturally into it as well. And I think we kind of try to talk a little bit about checking our assumptions. Socially and culturally, we have been spoon-fed the idea that there is a God and a devil, and that they're of equal power, and therefore the balances of the world are kind of always at play and fighting for our souls and all that good stuff. We struggle to actually find any evidence of that or meaning behind it, other than it's just a symmetrical, balanced thing that seems to strike our fancy. We kind of like that, kind of like yin yang, or destroyer, Shiva, the destroyer of worlds and creator of things, and so forth. So we kind of like symmetry. But the fact is that the very word devil or demon is actually evolved through time. It doesn't really have the meaning that it used to have back in the day. When we look at Socrates, for instance, he often referred to the word daemon, which meant spirit, not necessarily a bad spirit, because he actually talked to his daemons quite often. We're going to see that in quote literature. So through time, for a variety of reasons, I think different groups of people use spirit communication as a negative thing to force fear into people for compliance reasons. One great way to get people to do what you think that they should do is to put fear in them. So saying that, there is this spirits that you're talking to, that they're bad, that they influence you, makes you behave a certain way that is beneficial to you or to other people. So I think that the whole idea of devil came from that. It just doesn't make sense logically for us to think that there are really two competing forces in the universe. There is a beautiful quote, I know I'm kind of convoluted, but there's a beautiful quote by Francis of Assisi, who I like to believe it's my cousin, but he's not. I really like to kind of lie to myself about that, which I think sums this up, right? We see things as in opposition, but he says that not all the darkness in the world can extinguish the light of a single candle, right? So there isn't darkness and light. There is light and absence of light, and that's what we call darkness, right? So sometimes when we think that there is a devil, it could only really be a spirit who is momentarily absent of light, that is fighting us for personal reasons or whatever it is. It's definitely not at the same level of God whatsoever. So, but we make those things culturally, we've kind of accepted them. And we should ask ourselves, why? Why have we accepted them? Because if there really were competing forces in the world, a lot more things would be happening. You can look around and say, wow, there's lots of things happening in the world, but there are lots of things not happening in the world. A lot of bad things not happening in the world. We all crossed the street today when we got here. We're all sitting on beautiful chairs. We all have air conditions. There's a lot of things going on that we fail to see because we're so at the level of not greatness yet that we pay attention to problems, not to the wonderful things that are happening. We've had a tremendous day here. It's been absolutely fantastic, some great energy, and maybe we just kind of focus on the fact that, the line for coffee was too big, right?
Was it?
Was it? I don't know. I couldn't get any coffee. I'm just kidding. I did. But you see what I'm saying? So it's a way of looking at things, right? That quote by Dyer, I think, is fantastic. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And it's a perception thing. And let's always check our perception.
All right. To recognize one's vulnerability is a sign of humility, but it is not true that the world will perceive that as a sign of weakness. Yes, many people do perceive humility and vulnerability as signs of weakness, and a lot of times we will perceive that as well. And a lot of times we believe that to be strong is to be angry, is to be forceful, is to be violent, but it takes someone who is deeply connected to his or her essence and who is deeply courageous. And what comes to my mind as I'm saying that is precisely the passage that we find in the book Paul and Stephen. at the very end of Paul's life, when he's in front of the soldier who's going to take his life, right? He had been someone who was, at the eyes of the world, very powerful man. And at that point, he is fully connected to his essence. He fully understands his immortality. He's fully connected to God, both outside and within himself. And this connection leaves no place for fear, and leaves place for him to look at his aggressor and courageously tell him, go ahead, because he was shaking, and says to him, go ahead and do what you need to do, because I will be with my master tomorrow, and you're going to stay here in this world of misery and suffering. So he was extremely humble and extremely courageous. So humbleness, meekness, is this place of incredible strength and power that we acquire as we are able to connect to God, again, both within and outside of us, where we absolutely have nothing else to fear, and we are fully in touch with the purpose of our lives and with who we are.
Can I jump on that question too?
Sure, go ahead.
An image came to mind. I was feeling very zen today. My Boston friends might be able to relate to this because there's snow involved in it. A tree, a very strong branch in a tree, a very strong trees will not bend to snow until the snow piles, and breaks the branch. Bamboo, however, will bend with the snow, and who is the strongest?
Yeah.
So it's a fantastic thing along the vulnerability piece.
Yeah, there's, just before you go, the person is also asking how will you protect yourself. So again, you only need to protect yourself if you're being threatened by anything.
Good point.
But just like Paul, he had no need to protect himself. He had nothing to fear. His life was at stake. But what is our real life anyway, right? So he was so in tune with that, and he was so certain of his own immortality and who he truly was, that there was no place for fear or no need for protection. The protection came from the certainty. It's not that he believed in anything. He absolutely knew he was an immortal being.
So the next question here is a good one, and maybe we can have Susanna chime in as well, which is, why won't I feel God? And I think it's a great question because sometimes I find myself asking the same question. You know, we talk about God and faith and all these great things, and sometimes there are moments where, for some reason, I really feel connected, and it really vibrates in every cell of my body, and I feel that's a beautiful connection with God. And there are other times that I want to feel that connection, that I long to feel that connection, and I pray, but I don't feel it. And sometimes I feel bad because I feel like I should feel the connection. So sometimes I feel like, oh my God, I'm not doing this right. I'm not praying right, or whatever it is. So I don't have an answer for you other than the one that I give to myself, which is, you know, I am not there yet where I can earnestly feel like that all the time. I really wish I were, but I'm not. Until then, I'm going to keep doing what I can, which is exercise my rational piece. If I cannot force my emotions to come up the way I want them to, I will rationally work on praying anyways and saying, God, I am here. I love you, whatever it is that works for you, and say, I recognize how great and how wonderful it is. And even if I am unable to feel in my heart what I would like to be feeling at this moment, I'm still going to try, because practice makes perfect. What would you think? How would you tackle that?
I would present a very different perspective, actually.
Mhm.
So what came to my mind was, you know, here we are, as you have said, trying to feel something for something that we don't even know what the heck it is, right? Or where to find it, or what to define it. And so I think that that's very normal, that people, a lot of times, will have a difficult time connecting, feeling God. But I think that the key for this is in my talk. It's connection. So actually the way in which we'll get to know God and feel God and relate to God is the more we open to feel and connect with God's creations and creatures. So actually, I would say that every time that in relationships we feel an emotion, we rejoice, or we feel sad, or whatever is the feeling that comes up, all those are preparatory phases for us to come to feel God. So we are exercising the realm of feelings by dealing with one another, by relating to one another. So I would just say to you, take your time. Take your time and just observe within yourself how much feeling it actually exists. Sometimes people say, well, I don't feel anything. And they will say that in tears. Wow, you are crying. You are feeling something. Whether you realize that or not, you are moved. Your sadness is the first indication that you can feel. So just invest in feeling and in relating and in loving your next door person. And in there is your path to feeling God. It's my turn, no? I got so excited.
It's okay. That's what we're here
Forgot
for.
to read the next question.
Inspiring ourselves is half
All
the battle.
right. Okay. It's in Portuguese and in English. All right. So to which level our parents advise, don't think too much of yourself. Let me see if I can understand better in Portuguese. Até que ponto a educação dada por nossos pais sobre nós... Okay. What I understood is it's not very clear, but I think the idea is that sometimes we may have parents who, in educating us, put us down. And I guess the question is how much that influences us, how much that influences our self-esteem. I'm not sure if this is the question. Well, I would say that, and I'm not a psychologist, so, but I would say that, you know, I have two brothers and a sister. We have been educated by the same parents. So we are giving the parents that we need in first place. And a lot of times, this relationship that we are going to have with our parents is going to meet precisely our emotional and spiritual needs, the areas that we need to grow and to evolve. For sure, they are going to have an influence on how we feel about ourselves. But ultimately in life, it's up to you to take what was given to you and to do something about it. So you can look at how, you know, the four of us was raised by the same parents and we turn out very differently. And each one of us has done something different to the education that we had received. Do you want to help out with that?
I think that was great. One thing came to my mind too, which was a passage from the Gospel, the New Testament, right? Who is my mother? Who are my brothers and sisters? To reconsider that and find out exactly to what extent do we take those relationships in versus at what point do we need to kind of go out and do
And
moral thing.
you can expand that to society as a whole, because people are always telling you things about yourself and giving feedback. I think the most important thing is that this is an individual journey, and you have to find for yourself. You have to select what you're going to take in or not take in, and ultimately it's not up. No one really knows your story. No one really knows where you're coming from, and so seek to develop your own sources, right, and identity.
Yeah. One question. I have a question here that has 4 parts to it. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Two good questions. How to pick from? Let's see. Let's pick the crazier one. And by crazy, I mean, I think more mentally difficult. So the question is about the fact that we live in a world of cause and consequence, and that, that God created us. And the way that we can know that God exists is because we were created and we don't see who created. So somebody must have created it, right? So it's the beginning of the Spirit's book too. You can see that there. And then the question was about the student asking somebody else, well, who created God? Right? That doesn't make any sense, because somebody must have created God. And I think we all struggle with this idea, which Aristotle defined as the first unmoved mover, right? That God is the first unmoved mover. That is, the one person that kind of pushed the bowling ball, and then the bowling ball hit another bowling ball, and then it hit another bowling ball. But at one point in time, one bowling ball moved by itself, right? And we really struggle to understand how that's possible. And that's God. So it's hard for us to do it. The only way that I think I can wrap my mind around it, makes sense to me at least, is that we have to remember that God, it doesn't have the limitations that we do. God is not inside our universe, for lack of a better word. He's not part of the creation. He's the creator. So the laws that apply to us don't apply to him. So he is not subject to cause and consequence, because he's cause, period. And what do I mean by that? He doesn't get tired like we do. He doesn't need to eat like we do. He doesn't need to sleep like we do. He created sleep, food, and everything else. He's outside all of that. So the rules that apply to us don't apply to him. Time doesn't apply to him. It applies to us, because he created all this stuff. It will be kind of us like creating something. I don't know, maybe when I go out there and I create a phone, and now I have to obey the laws of the phone that I created. It makes no sense, right? So because God is kind of outside of of creation, our limitations don't apply to him. I know that's kind of really convoluted, but all that to say is that God does have a really great special presence in our lives, and bigger than we expect. And it's really hard for us to fully understand that, because we are always applying our feelings to God. We're always applying our feelings to the person next to us. And, if we're applying our feelings to the person next to us, we're projecting our feelings to other folks, which we shouldn't do to begin with. If we do that to people, right, it's a good indication that we shouldn't do that to God either. So I'm babbling, right? you see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like an intellectual exercise. It's one of those things that we're beginning to grasp a little bit better now, with science, with understanding, with the whole quantum physics thing about being in different places at the same time. We could talk about that. We're running out of time. But the idea being is God is so outside of our reality, these laws don't apply to him. So we kind of just have to understand that and hold on that for now, until we have more knowledge to truly get a little bit closer to God and understand how all this works.
Yeah, I think that in the Spirit's book, it's going to say that, as Divaldo mentioned, I think, there is only so much that we can understand at this point. And even though it's nice to be curious and it's nice to want to know things and find out about things, I mean, here we are trying to understand the Creator, and we cannot name our own feelings yet.
Mm-hmm.
So again, nothing wrong with that per se, but the spirits are telling us in the very beginning of the Spirit's book, this is way, way bigger than you, So try to just know who you are. Try to understand the manifestation of God within you. How about living better with your next door neighbor, and focus on those things, because by focusing on these things, this is precisely the path that's going to take us little by little in a very, very slow journey, one day a little closer to coming up to understanding these things that are way, way, way above our heads and our realities right now.
We thank you. We thank Dr. Simões and Mr. Assisi.